I'm Brooke Sobel, and I'm going to show you how to apply a transfer. So this is a product called a decor transfer. The company is called Redesign with Prima. This pattern is called Wondrous Floral. On the back of the package, it shows the transfer in all of its parts and pieces. This one happens to be in 3 pieces. Some of them are in 1, some are in 2, all the way up to 6 for some of the larger transfers. So transfers will stick to a variety of surfaces, including painted and unpainted surfaces, glass, metal. If you're painting the surface, don't put wax on your paint before you put the transfer on, okay? The sealer should come last. So paint, lightly sand as desired, buff away the sanding dust, and then apply your transfer. Okay. So as you can see, I've already adhered the top part of this transfer. It is a 3-part transfer. And I'm going to start showing you this part right here. I took the drawers out because they happen to line up really well. And that way I wouldn't have to deal with the little middle part between the drawers. And it's kind of an easier application. One of the keys to transfer success is lining up your patterns. So this one just lines up very nicely. There's a little extra white at the top that's not going to show. So you want to line it up from the pattern to the pattern. So this is the backing paper. Basically, you've got a white backing paper that just gets thrown away, and then the transfer part itself, okay, which is the inside. So you're going to peel very carefully and slowly, okay, the transfer away from the backing paper. You want to be very careful that you don't accidentally let the transfer fold unto itself, okay? Because if you do, you'll never get that back. So you do need to be just slow and careful when you're handling so it doesn't fold onto itself, okay? Don't touch any of the decorated pieces if you can avoid it. Okay, then line it up exactly where you want it. This one's gonna start with the very top of the drawer. So that's where I'm aiming for here. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to just sort of flatten it out with my hands. Get it kind of pressed on there. Okay. So it doesn't shift while you're working on it. Then you take this plastic stick that comes with the transfer, or you may purchase the more advanced transfer tool. This is called the transfer tool. This is great. I use it almost exclusively, but I'll show you both products. So the stick that comes with it, basically you start wherever, but keep track of where you're starting, and hold your stick kind of like this so you don't break it, and just start rubbing. So the objective is it's a rub-on transfer. You want to make sure that you get all of the design part rubbed well. Okay, so don't be afraid to use a little pressure. Now, don't go too fast because then you might jar the paper. Like around edges, I like to be careful so I don't pull the paper back by accident. So just go like a section at a time until you feel like you've covered that section pretty well. You really won't know until you've practiced a few times. Then you start getting a feel for it. Make sure you really get that edge. Don't be afraid to use a little pressure, okay? Now the transfer tool has 2 different sides, larger and smaller, but they're both quite a bit broader than the stick. So I like that because you can cover more surface. Also, it's just more durable and stronger, so you can actually use more pressure without worrying about breaking it. And you just cover more surface at a time. Also, it has little kind of edger pieces that are super helpful when you're kind of going around drawers and around edges and such. I kind of like this end better. Okay, so now I think I've done a pretty good job, but I suspect I missed some spots, and that's okay because you can go back and fix it. So you want to, when you feel like, okay, I think I got it all, then you start slowly, choose a corner and start slowly peeling it back. If you see any little bits sticking to the plastic, just set the plastic back down and rub it back. Slowly. Getting the edges is critical, especially at the area where you're going to peel it back from. Sometimes the edges just don't want to stick at first, but then you get those nailed down and then the whole thing will just click into place. Some transfers lay down more easily than others. It depends on your surface, it depends on the transfer. It's not really predictable. But I will tell you, when it has a lot of little edge details like this, you are going to work a little harder than if it was just one flat piece and you only had like 4 edges to worry about. Just gently, make sure your hands are clean. Okay, now we need to fully burnish it. So what does that mean? It means we need to really make sure that the transfer is very well laid down to that piece so that there are no air bubbles that any sealer could get under so that the transfer doesn't peel up. I'm using the Dixie Belle finishing pad. This is available on my website at heartlandvintagemarket.com. It's an inexpensive little non-abrasive pad. I usually kind of start in the middle using circular motions, little bit gentle. You'll get to more familiar with the level of pressure needed after a while. You want to go especially careful on the edges so you don't lift anything up. That might not be on there very well, but you want to push it down into the piece. So it really gives the piece of, the transfer a good bond and helps prevent any lifting that could occur of the edges and such in the future. Okay, we're pretty well burnished here, but we still have one thing to deal with. We have the fact that the drawers are meeting here. The transfer is tissue thin, so if you separate the drawers, it's gonna separate, but we want to do it a little neater. So I'm going to take a putty knife and just kind of poke it through straight on. Don't go like this, just poke it a little bit straight on. I kind of like to work it up and down a little bit. That helps the transfer stick to the top and bottom of the drawers. I will carefully separate the 2 drawers. And then you'll want to make sure and burnish underneath this drawer here, just like you did the rest of the piece. And then the top of this drawer here. Because the transfer is going to be kind of raggedy up at the very, very top where you separated the drawers. Okay, friends, I hope you found that helpful. The next step is we're going to seal this with a sealer. I'm going to do that in a separate video, so look for that.